Well, good evening. Welcome to NUFC Matters post-match reaction to the Man City FA Cup quarter-final surrender. Newcastle United out of the FA Cup after losing 2-0 at home. And yes, disappointing night. I've got to be honest, I think most people were expecting it, Malcolm. Let's talk first of all about the lineup tonight. Steve Bruce opted for 5 at the back.
Yeah, if you're going to play 5 at the back, you're always going to be well short up front, and so there is a huge amount of pressure on the guys there, particularly just to hold up possession. But why 5 was played, I don't know. I have a feeling that it was just a decision made more out of fear than anything else, because they don't play enough forwards up front. Okay, all of a sudden people are getting up front when they have possession from Man City, but you don't need to be doing that from the start, because in the end the midfield can't put any pressure on the opposition. The forwards certainly can't, and so all you're doing is inviting the opposition onto your back 5, and that's exactly what happened. And thank heavens for Darlow in the first half. I thought he made some super saves, but then there was that ridiculous act by Manquillo in the way that he started holding the Man City forward and gave away the penalty. And so a bit of stupidity like that, and it's ruined all the hard work that everybody has put in. And, you know, once you go 1-0 down, you can't continue playing 5 at the back, and yet they did continue all the way to half-time. They should have changed it immediately, and it should have been organised before the game out on the training pitch. Right, if we do go a goal down, Shah goes in the middle of the park, and this, and this, and this, and it's all there, organised, ready for that goal going in. But it wasn't. They didn't make the change until half time, and it just allowed Man City to get so far on top that it was demoralising for the Newcastle players. It must have been out there. What did anybody see the percentage rates of possession?
I saw right at the start of the game, Malcolm. I think it was about 30 minutes in, 188 passes to Man City, 15 passes to Newcastle.
Yes.
In the opening half an hour. I mean, that tells you where we're at, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. So that's something like that 8% possession, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and in all honesty, Man City was so overwhelming that even Saint-Maximin, he had a dreadful first half. Never got an accurate pass away. Gave possession away every time. You know, so the thing with managing and coaching and being teammates is that you make it as easy as possible, because it's hard enough against Man City without further complicating it. You have to, for your players, the manager and the coaching staff have to make it as easy as possible. And I don't think that Steve Bruce made it easy for the Newcastle side to go out and play in reasonable fashion against Man City. You know, they just allowed Man City to come and swamp them.
Neil, let me come to you next. Neil, what's your view on tonight's game?
Appalling, absolutely embarrassing. You know, you look at the possession statistics. I don't think I've seen something like that for a long time. I know the guys in commentary, I don't know if you had the same commentary. We're talking about the Burnley team who beat Liverpool 2-0 with 18% possession. But do you know what? We never looked likely to score 1 goal, let alone 2, with 18% possession today. The formation didn't work. The possession didn't work. it was just an embarrassment. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. What did you make of the change in tactics to go 5 at the back? Do you think it was forced to that because he robbed the thing to do?
Look, I get why you want to go 5 at the back if with the players available, perhaps. It's worked in the past, but you know what? Rafa used to get hammered for playing 5 at the back sometimes. But I don't think we ever put the showing like that under Rafa, where we just capitulated, we just gave them the possession. At one point in the first half, we had 13% of the possession. 13, and we're at home. That's outrageous. It's not even excusable. You can't do it. Can't do it at all. And I defy anybody to put a defence on that. And then when you go one down to that penalty, which could have been 2 bloody penalties from the 2 shoves he gave, you know, and then to just keep playing it doesn't make sense at all. And you can forgive certain things, like St. Maximin perhaps didn't have the best game, didn't have the best touches, but he's feeding off scraps. I actually said to somebody in here tonight, "Oh, Almiron's actually playing." You know, if we can't get the players that are going to do the destructive things on the ball, how on earth can we get the result out of that game tonight?
Yeah. It's another year, and we're looking at, you know, over 50 years now without a domestic trophy at St. James's Park. Can you really believe that?
Yeah, I mean, nobody in their right mind would think that would happen, would they? Yeah. Nobody in their right mind.
Yeah, they were saying 6 years on the commentary.
Yeah, I mean, 1955. 1955 since the last FA Cup. 1969.
Yes, that was the last FA Cup, but of course there was European.
Since the Fairs Cup. Yeah, Steve, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, statisticians wouldn't believe that a team of the stature of Newcastle United could go so long without a trophy. You know, in any sport, that sort of gap. It's usually some, you know, not a top class team, a team that's been there and then not been around for years and years and years. You hear some statistic for, whether it's in American football or baseball or whatever it happens to be, where they love statistics. But when it comes to football, you know, Newcastle United, you know, in 1974 we'd won the cup 6 times, and I think we held the record. We were level with other clubs on 6 wins in 1974 when Mal played in the final. And since then, you think, look, I think it was somebody said that Man United have now won it 19 times. You know, they were nowhere near us in 1974, and they've now won it 19 times. It's just like, I mean, we'd been in the final 10 times, we'd won it 6 times. But getting back to today, I mean, today, I just could not believe we played so deep without any movement in front of the back 5. I couldn't believe that he played a back 5 after since January, never playing a back 5, where he disposed of the back 5 and went to a 4, a 2, and then he played like sort of a 3-1 system, whatever, you know, all these fancy things. But I just could not believe that he had reverted to a 5 and then had a 5-yard, 10-yard gap between then a bank of 4 in front of them, and Carroll then exposed a good 30, 35, 40 yards further up front. And he's not the most mobile bloke. So because of that, you need the break. You've got to have the support. And that didn't come either. De Bruyne did them. No question that Guardiola did Bruce, because he changed where De Bruyne was going to play. He pushed Silva up instead of Silva being played back. And it was as though somebody on the touchline in the Newcastle dugout just didn't even notice it and did absolutely nothing to try and combat that sort of thing. You know, you've seen that, because Guardiola had been done at least twice at St. James's Park when we played similar tactics, but this time he got his tactics absolutely spot on. Little changes like that, things that probably Newcastle's guys just did not expect to see. but then did absolutely nothing when they saw it. You know?
Sure. But and the change that did come at half time, all of a sudden, Newcastle, they were very much in the game.
Yeah.
Once that change had been made, and all it was just simply pushing one of the guys out of a back five to leave a back four, and push into the middle of the park. Then the forward, the forwards can push a little more forward with a bit more support, and you're back in the game. And why that didn't happen a lot earlier, I always believe if something isn't working, if a tactic isn't working on a football field, then change it immediately. Don't wait until half time or whatever. Don't have a good think about it. If you see it's wrong, change it, and that makes it more positive for the players. But that just didn't happen. The players, they must have been looking across at the bench going, for heaven's sake, we're getting murdered here. Do something. And nothing was being done at all.
Yeah. I mean, Mitch, it's a lot of criticism coming in the Steve Bruce. He's been making a lot of noise when the over, and he wanted to a lot of people saying that Steve Bruce deserves a chance. You deserve a chance when you see
in a word, no. Because frankly, like Malcolm's just said, early on, it was obvious that five at the back wasn't working. And the fact he stuck with five at the back cost us the penalty. Because Shea was in a position, it shouldn't have just been one penalty, it should have been two. You made two shoves that were quite obviously, if somebody was going to go to VAR, done, penalty, end. It should have been two penalties, not just one. And we're lucky we got away with one. And if you can't see that needs changing at that point, what else can't you see? I'm so angry tonight about that entire selection and everything else. I'm so angry.
What I think was that there seemed to me to be a lack of preparation pre-match on the training ground, so that if we go a goal down, we change the formation, we change it to this, because in the FA Cup you need to get to be in the game, and that means that if you go a goal down, you need to chase that and get a goal back as quickly as you can. You can't do that with five at the back. Just can't do it. And particularly when you're playing one up front who is just surrounded by four defenders. Even Andy Carroll, as much as he wants to fight and scrap and really work hard for the ball, it's way beyond him to have any success at it. And so I just I felt that there was a lack of organisation for whatever might occur in the game, and you do that organisation over the 2 or 3 days before the game, and I don't think it was worked at. I think it was oh right, look, we're going to play five at the back, and then we'll see how we go at half time.
Yeah,
that's the impression I got today.
Did we miss the crowd, Steve, tonight? I mean, they often say it's a 12th man. One or two people, Sean Foreman in particular, said the 12th man was missed today, that's for sure. Those kind of games, the build-up, the excitement, it's a nighttime game, and, the crowd are urging Newcastle on. There's a bit of argy-bargy, and the crowd gets stuck in. What's your thoughts? Do you think the crowd would have helped tonight?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that 12th man that the crowd can be, especially in a sixth round of an FA Cup at St James's, as you say, an early evening kickoff. Weather's been good all day. Everybody was up for it. Full house, 52,000, 3,000, 4,000 opposition there, probably more. Everything about that game today was set up for Newcastle United, a home game in the sixth round of the FA Cup. And there's no question that the lack of crowd, the lack of atmosphere meant that it just looked like any other game as far as the performance was, and the way that the lineup was, the way that it was treated. You know, I didn't see anything on the touchline that gave me the impression that there was somebody there wanting to give a good kick into people, a shout, a screaming at them. You know, there was none of that. There was no sort of atmosphere among the bench. There was nothing from the touchline that was giving any signals to them to pull their socks up. There was no screaming and shouting. And I mean, there's no question that crowd behind them would have certainly given them food for thought, and probably would have shaken Bruce up as well, because he would have been getting stick after 20, 25, 30 minutes in the manner in which we were playing, because the crowd wouldn't have put up with it, quite frankly, and it would have been forced to make those changes. The changes that Malcolm's talking about, Bruce would have been forced to make if they'd been played in front of a full house. No question in my mind.
Malcolm, good to see.
Yeah, it's an interesting point made. Yeah, sorry, Steve.
I'm going to say, yeah. I mean, you know, we'll concentrate on the crowd then. In that case, what was your thoughts? Would the crowd have made a difference tonight? Man City were in good shape and good form after the disappointment against Chelsea the other night. You know, do you think a crowd would have made a difference?
Well, I think Manchester City were absolutely fabulous tonight. And would the crowd have made a difference? Yes, I think it would. Yes, particularly when you're playing at home. When you're away from home, what you want is an empty stadium. When you're playing at home, you want it full and screaming. And so Newcastle were always going to be the losers just on that fact alone. When the crowd is really, it gets everything going, including your brains, in terms of analysing the game as it's going, you know. And I think that when it's more training ground stuff, you're not quite on the ball, and that's what I felt Newcastle weren't tonight. They weren't on the ball, and those in the dugout weren't on the ball either, and we suffered by it.
Yeah, I think you know what, Malcolm. I think it wouldn't have had San Maximin being caught in possession that many times with 52,000 people in there shouting "man on." That's for certain.
Absolutely, yes, and that's just one little thing going on in the game. But that is what happens when you have a crowd in there. You know, that crowd noise, and it does affect players. It informs players as well, and it certainly would have put more pressure on Manchester City. You know, when you think over recent games that Newcastle have had against Man City, that Newcastle have been very much in the game in the past, and then when it's an empty stadium, they get murdered.
Yeah. Mitch, what did you make of it? I mean, obviously you're sitting in a different country. It's always difficult for you watching home games, I suppose. But you know, from your seat out there, and is it the same when there's no crowd there? What was your take on that tonight?
I don't get why they play the crowd noise, to be honest with you, because it doesn't do anything for any of you. Here we know it's stereo, we know it's asinine, we know there's not a crowd there, so they're playing the crowd noise on the coverage, and does nothing for us at all. Just frustrates, gives something to moan about, because I mean, you know, the penalty's given and they're playing booze, for fuck's sake, you know.
I tell you what, Neil.
Really?
We could have done with 10 minutes of attack. That
yes,
would have helped.
Absolutely.
That would have helped.
And other noise as well, perhaps. Yeah. You know, it was odd, bizarre. I get why it's difficult sometimes for the players in this scenario. I've seen Italian games, I've seen German games, I've seen British games played in this weird situation I was in here last night where the Dubai Whites were here watching Leeds play. And some of the Leeds lads here, you know, they couldn't get into the game because of the whole scenario. The only thing that got them up for it was Mitrovic's forearm smash after about 2 minutes, you know. That was the only time that they got up for it. And it's just weird. It's frustrating. And then to watch with fluff for lines, you know, Gale had an absolute glorious chance to get 1-1. And I suspect another time, another place with a full house, perhaps that would have happened. But you can talk about this all we like. This is what we've got to put up with, and this is the scenario we've got because they're determined to play the games to get the money through.
Yeah. I understand that the crowd noise is actually played in the ground as well, isn't it? It's not just over the TV. Because I was listening to a guy at QPR was saying that they had recordings of 12 different parts of the ground, so it's actually played inside. And somebody's in charge of that. Somebody was actually in charge of Man City fans chanting in St James's Park tonight. They were Blue Moon. I could hear Blue Moon. I was a kid next door. Couldn't believe what was going on, you know. What the hell's that all about?
Malcolm, we've got 10 minutes left. Just want to talk to you about the Longstaffs. Obviously, 4 Longstaff started tonight. Matty Longstaff came on as a substitute. Is that hopefully a good sign that maybe things will get resolved with Matty, do you think? Or do you think that was maybe a farewell appearance from the younger of the two brothers?
Well, I hope it's not the latter. And I was interested to hear the comments of the commentary team, and they were saying how ridiculous it is that they should allow the non-signing of a contract to still exist with young Matty, and that how important it is to see that players are coming through the academy and into the first team, and it's important for everybody on Tyneside to see that elevation happening successfully, and I just find Newcastle have got themselves into a real sticky mess on this. And I would like to see them. I'd like to see the club get it sorted one way or another, and let supporters know what is going on something like that. I think that's important. I find it strange that this sort of empty vacuum that's swirling around Matty Longstaff is being allowed to exist by the club. Get it sorted, cut and dried, here and now, and you know, otherwise, in a couple of days, he can be gone.
You know what? Also, Mark, it's important for the academy. It's important for youngsters who want to come to Newcastle United, want to play for Newcastle United, to see that their opportunities are there. And you know, there's going to be families out there thinking, you know what? I don't want my kid to go to Newcastle and to the academy and be developed there because they're not going to. By the time he's 18, 19, they're not going to want him. They're not, even if he's worth, they're not going to give him the money. It's demoralising, and I think it has a serious impact on where the club is and where the club will be if they don't get these sort of situations sorted, like you say, very, very quickly. Because like once that seed is sown in the minds of families in the northeast, you know, they'll just think, pointless my kid having anything to do with Newcastle United. I might as well go to an academy elsewhere, even if it's Sunderland or even if it's Middlesbrough or even if it's further afield, because Newcastle's a pointless opportunity.
Sure, and in the last 10 or 12 years, Newcastle United, the people running it, haven't looked seriously at the academy. They haven't taken care of the standards of of the training area, and so on and so forth, and so they were actually demoted in the academy levels, and they were told that they had to that they had 3 years in which to put it right, and I'm not so sure that the facilities are there in full as the likes of Middlesbrough, for example. They've got absolutely top-notch facilities, and I think they leave Newcastle standing. Newcastle haven't been bothered about the kids enough, and that's why we're not seeing a real good splurge of kids coming onto the scene. And there's so much talent up here, for heaven's sake. You know, you just need to see the Geordies that have been through the decades reaching the top levels of the game. The talent is up here, and Newcastle United have never really got to grips with that and look to nurture it and bring it through and make success from it.
Yeah. Mitch, we're just drawn to a close now. Will we ever see Newcastle United win a trophy in our lifetime?
I think that depends on the next moves in the next week or two, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I genuinely believe that the potential new owners, or the new owners as I would say, are all in. And they're not here to be second best. They're not here to be also rans. But it comes back to this playoff that we have with the lazy journalistic stereotype that says we demand this. We don't demand this. We demand pride. We demand to be proud of our club and what that represents for our city and our region and for Geordies worldwide. That's all we want. We want to be proud of it. We want to go up against the great and the good like tonight and bloody their nose, not retreat into a shell and take a capitulation and say, well, at least we didn't get beat by 5 or 6. We got beat by 2. Well, so what? We want to fight. We want to actually bloody their nose and fight for it and be proud of our club and be proud of the city and be proud of the region and everything that that club represents for us. When we go out with the wider world and say we are Newcastle United, we don't want to be seen as Newcastle United, the team that just gave up. That's not what we want. That's all we want. We don't want trophies. Good God, I've not had a trophy in my lifetime. The last thing we won was 1969. I was born in 1971. One of my first memories is crying because Malcolm was crying at the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Simple as that. And we don't demand anything other than to be proud of our club, and that's all we want back. Give us that back, and then we'll go bloody the noses. We'll knock them out. And if you give with the materials to do more than that, let's play. Let's go for it. But you know what? All we want is to be proud of our club and be proud of the city and be proud of everything it represents when we wear this badge, when we go out to the wider world. When I say to people here, I'm a Newcastle United supporter, and I get turned around from a local here who says, why do you not support Chelsea? Well, I don't want to support Chelsea because I'm a Newcastle United supporter. That's all we want.
Steve, same question to you. Do you think we'll ever see Newcastle United lift a trophy in our lifetime?
I hope we do. Because every year I've been saying this since I was a kid, and it's not happening. It's got to happen. I mean, you would say that the look's got to break, but you know what? It's a case of getting the prayer mat out now at times, really is. And I think Mitch has summed it all up there. I cannot say any more. Lost for words.
Malcolm, you were a fantastic servant in the number 9 shirt, and you came so close to winning us an elusive FA Cup in the 70s, and of course the League Club as well, but it wasn't to be. Can you see Newcastle United, troubling the Engravers anytime soon?
Well, it will be very interesting once this takeover goes through. The people who will then be in charge of Newcastle, they will suffer nothing other than failure, other than success. They will not have failure, and they will be chasing success. Whereas what we've experienced over the past decade or so has been for the betterment of Sports Direct. To hell with Newcastle United.
Yeah, 100%. Lads, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure. Just a pity the football wasn't. Malcolm, look forward to getting you on again on Thursday. And Mitch and Steve, look forward to you joining NUFC Matters on Friday night for another great chat, lads. And we'll look forward, of course, to the midweek game. I might get you on just before that, Malcolm, to do a little pre-match warm-up if you're all right with that.
Sounds good. Yes, indeed.
Try and get you on after that, lads, as well, if you're up for it. Okay, lads, take care.
No problem. Right, take care. Have a good evening.
Good night.
Don't worry too much.
And thanks, everybody, for watching. We will see you tomorrow with Rob McDonald and Tuesday with Nick Ostabazas. Thanks, guys.